justice, climate action, debt-free education, affordable health care, equal pay, broadband access, citizen as opposed to corporate power, and more. Democrats cannot succeed with the radical urgency that is required unless we lead a dirt road revival to rebuild political power in rural America. Dirt Road Revival is the grassroots primer for a profound renewal of the Democratic Party's vision and strategies for rural America. Before we dive fully into the stories of our campaigns and the framework for a Democratic revival, Part 1 zooms out to ground ourselves in rural America's recent history and often harsh realities. These first two chapters draw heavily on the work of sociologists and other authors to provide a brief yet critical foundation to understand the context in which we are living and campaigning. How did rural America become such a politically potent force for Republicans? What drove so many rural Americans away from the Democratic Party in recent years? Part 2 is our first-person story of successful rural campaigns in Maine. In 2018, we ran for State House District 88, which had never been held by a Democrat. In 2020, we ran for state Senate against the Senate Minority Leader, the highest-ranking Republican in Maine. Senate District 13 voted for Trump in 2016. In 2020, District 13 voted for Joe Biden, but it also voted by a double-digit margin for Republican U.S. Senator Susan Collins. Our campaigns ground Democratic politics in the rural spaces that had been left behind in our commitment to work with our community in ways that are positive, creative, hopeful, enduring, and even joyful. We took a leap of faith and dove headfirst into campaigning on the dirt roads of rural Maine. In Part 3, we share the lessons distilled from our combined decades of organizing work and our two successful campaigns. These chapters cover the strategic principles that guide our work, the process that structures our campaigns, and our approach to the day-to-day tasks of an election cycle. These are the real-world lessons that blossomed as we built a movement on the campaign trail. Our goal in these chapters is to translate our vision and experience into something that will be useful for you and your community, whether you're a first-time candidate or a campaign manager, as we were in 2018, a veteran political organizer, or a door-knocking volunteer. But first, we want to say hello. We always start our campaign meetings with what we call our preamble, a life check-in before we get to work. This is our preamble to you, our handshake, our introduction. This practice is rooted in how we were raised. Things move at the speed of relationship in rural America. You don't jump straight into business and take care of things as quickly as possible. An essential part of the culture of living and organizing in rural America is slowing down and building relationships. It is the touchstone on which our future and all hope of transforming how we relate to politics and one another depends. And a good relationship starts with a handshake. This small gesture is about establishing a modicum of trust and human connection. To show up, look someone in the eye, and shake their hand is to plant the seeds of possibility and connection. It's also what is lacking in today's politics. A voter told us one day, "I don't identify with either party. I vote for the person. I vote for whoever has the firmest handshake." Canyon. Raised in the beautiful backwoods of southern Appalachia, in a small town where political activity was mostly confined to local issues, I was largely a stranger to public protest. Attending Harvard on need-based financial aid, I certainly didn't anticipate confronting the institution that made my continued education possible. Yet, I could not in good conscience study climate change without confronting the fact that Harvard was investing its billions in companies driving climate catastrophe. My understanding of the climate crisis began at the age of 16, after I lived for a short time with a family in Phang, a small village in a deep green valley of northern India, surrounded by the barren mountains of the Himalayan highland. Life in Phang, and for the more than 1 billion people who inhabit the Himalayan river basins, is sustained by meltwater harnessed by the intricately designed irrigation systems that conserve this precious resource. As the glaciers melt and dry up due to global warming, the whole region will likely be forced to grapple with severe water insecurity. Much of day-to-day life in rural America is affected by decisions made in faraway Washington, D.C. Climate change is driven by industrial superpowers far removed from hamlets like Phang.